traveler up, you go like that. When you want to let it off, you go like that.
Coach?
Thank you very much.
Maybe? I don't know if it's whichever one you want. There's two different kinds there. You'll probably like this. And you'll probably like that.
Okay.
You have an opener?
Gil usually has an opener.
Oh my god, this is crazy.
You need cool people on your boat.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Well, I want to use the ice socket. Which one?
Yeah, that's
God, I my own beer.
now I lost my beer somehow.
Oh, it's coming.
Okay, alright.
Yeah, the dub cat.
Thanks, sir. Cheers, guys. Great race. It does take 6 to sail a good race, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was a hell of a race. Gorgeous boat. We had great boat speed the whole time.
Yep.
I think the only time we were lacking boat speed was off the start, and then the only thing we did after that was catch up with you.
Yep. So you were going to tell me something about just after the start, some ideas there.
So after the start,
Yep.
what I noticed is that you got very excited.
It was pretty exciting.
Very excited.
Yeah.
You have to be really, you have to be calm because there's the most important thing is that you have your eyes on the front of the sail and the tickler. So the jib obviously has to be in nice and tight. I didn't get down to take a look at how tight it was in, but it's got to be in nice and tight because you know that there's a J35 under you, right? And you know J35 is going to point high. There's no doubting that whatsoever. So you know that you got to point high. So you got to sit there and you got to make sure that the jib is perfectly pinching just a little bit and trying to keep it up there. And as soon as you see that J is starting to come out in front of you, you have to look back. If there's no boat right there, you make the call. You say, okay, guys, we got to go right now because you know that as soon as that J35 comes across your bow, you're going to be in this, shit air, and you're going to have to tack anyway. So better avoid that situation.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is that as soon as you round, make sure that the jib's nice and hard in, especially in that big breeze, and that you're just focusing on that line on the I guess the left of the jib, and making sure that you're watching your ticklers, that the inside ticklers are just flicking up, or the front of the jib is just coming in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't want the jib to be luffing.
Right.
But you also don't want it to be. You also don't want to be bearing off, pointing down too low, because if you're pointing down too low, then
Which is what I think early on. That's what I have to do. So when we're tacking, especially in this kind of breeze, bring the jib in pretty hard right away.
Yeah, in lighter air, you don't want to bring it in as tight, right? And in the lighter air, then you have to be doing the opposite. You don't want to pull it in light. You want to tack and you want to foot, so you get the speed up, and then you kind of come up into it.
Yeah, I always try to go.
And you got to remember that your boat is really tiny. You may rate faster than a J35 or rate the same as a J35, but your boat is a lot smaller.
Right.
So the dynamic there is going to be completely different, right?
Okay.
So if he gets on top of you, you are done. Your race isn't over, but you're dead in the water. But if you get on top of him, he's like, whatever, I got this big ass sail. It doesn't even matter.
So what you technically get the start then, because you can't point higher than him. So even if he starts behind you, he's going to come up underneath you.
If we can figure out a way to get you to point higher, then I don't care. You would have been fine there. You'd have been like, oh, you want to point high? I'll point high, and then just whatever, because the boats are similar speeds, right? I can't do a start like you did because my boat, no matter how high I point, he's faster than me, so he'll eventually just come up on me.
Okay.
But if we can get the speed up and the pointing up, then you should be able to sit there.
How do we get the pointing? That's been the puzzle for the last month. I've been fiddling with things, and it's getting better. It's getting better. It's not there yet. We put more rake in the mast. Yep. The last thing I did was, I went back to Sailmaker because I had asked him how much box curve he put in, and I misunderstood. I thought he had said 2 inches, but he said 25 millimeters, 20 to 25 millimeters. So 1 inch. So I backed away the pre-bend to what I think looks like approximately, an inch-ish. I mean, how can you really tell? Using a halyard really tight.
The only way you can do it is, you take your main halyard and you run like a 35-foot mast or something like that. You get a tape measure that goes that far and you measure it to a point on the deck.
Okay.
And then you change it and you measure how much you've gone. That's what we do on the 49ers. We take the halyard, we run it to the top, figure your free bed.
Okay.
So that's how you measure your free bed. And then the other way you can do it is you can actually bring it in to the point on the
That's
mast,
what I did.
and you can kind of.
Yeah, and I walked over there behind your dad's boat and kind of eyeballed, okay, that looks about yay big, and then I adjusted stuff, and oh, that's what happens next, so I stopped.
I think it's going to be a little bit of sailing the boat more and more and more and getting used to how as soon as you round up and you started the race, you have to get into a groove immediately.
Yeah.
So
I get the boat speed seems to help the point too, right?
yeah, you should use the tiller extension and sit right like this, and then just keep your eyes on it like that, and let someone on your crew be make sure that if there's a boat coming up, they're letting you know,
Okay.
or if there's a boat coming in this way.
Yeah, because I cannot look at the other boats. I actually sometimes don't even know where they are. Like we're in this little channel, and I don't care what's going on.
Yeah, just the best advice I could give you is to stay calm and just focus on sailing the boat and sailing the actual.
I like this. How old are you? Like telling me to stay calm. This is like inversion. Wonderful.
I do it too. Like I've raced, like when we did I raced the 49er at Cork one year, and it wasn't even a big regatta, but it was just like the biggest 49er regatta I'd ever been to.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started the line, I'd get it. I'd be like, okay, let's get going. I'd be shaking the tiller and stuff, and the boat would just kind of die right there. And I'd be sitting, everybody be going, why is everyone going faster than me? Just because I got excited.
Yeah.
But
And
all in all,
specifically, you mentioned shaking the tiller. Like
that's what I did on the 40.
Yeah.
The 49er is like the rudder's like this big.
Right.
So shaking the tiller, like if you're moving your hand at all, it like basically just goes directly to the tiller, the rudder, right? For this, if you shook it a little bit, it probably wouldn't do it right. That's just something I did. But it was good because you notice how we picked up speed later on in the race.
Yeah.
When we got into a groove and we're kind of moving, we tack, and as soon as we tack, we're kind of going, we're back into it. Then
the jives too, we didn't lose any speed at all.
Jives were phenomenal. That was unbelievable.
Well, yeah, you taught us something good there when you took the.
Yeah, so that basically is what I'm doing is I'm letting as you go through the jive, you're pointing lower. So as you point lower, the spinnaker needs to go out more, right? So like basically, if you picture this is your boat and this is your spinnaker, we're trimmed in and we're going like this, right? So as you bear off, so we'll say the wind's coming from, I guess, from where I am. As you bear off, I let the spinnaker out, right? So to a point where you were basically sailing dead downwind, and I had the spinnaker parallel to the boat. And then all I did, as soon as you switch the main, I let it go, and then the spinnaker would instantly go like this, forward of the boat, and then you would pull it in, and then it would come all the way around back like this.
And I got to remember to keep going and go relatively high after that.
And then you got to remember, and to a point though, because if you go too high, then Michelle's
go
gonna be like, oh come on, I can't get it in, right? So it's a balancing act.
Yeah.